Hey yo, Cashmere Funk Kid, Vitamin D, Proficient Catalina wine, mix 80 degrees in the shade on, cause the rays strong. I got the They Live shades on. Hey man, who made the wallflowers uproot, get they bouquet on? Of course, Sergeant LA on. Hey, rich to kiss the chef apron. Daddy's home, the Grey Gone, Space Young. Can't plan B, Nan Command C it. Meet the main Pangea. Bang, shrimp plate, you Space Jam reaching out, baby face. Wake with the handsome man feast. You see the yacht rocking, don't come knocking. Stay calm, yo, my wave's strong. First law, nature rock. Second law, see first, don't stop. Rock on and on and on. Right. First law, nature rock. Second law, see first, don't stop. Rock on and on and on. Rock. First law, nature rock. Boogie is a god, now makes a lot. Get down, swim simple. You need a medical program, yo, tam, yo. Yeah, money so old, it spoke proto. Endo, Toto, Bueno, also, simple, whoa, tempo. The sun is young. You need a medical program, yo. Law, and all of y'all must rock to the law on a uni dose with the doobie mix. So shake your rude chakram. Rock, I said rock, yeah. Yo, by the way, don't trip. Got disco circus, no soma on trip. Yeah, Sunstar, lava, and glacier rock. Boogie is a god now, makes a lot and get Alamo tone down, homie tone down. Gotta go, homie tone down. Block bone rock while the world go round. Block bone rock while the world go round. God should let it be.
You crazy?
God should let it be.
Daily.
God should let it be.
Right now.
God should let it be.
Right now.
Yo, by the way, don't trip. Got so much soma that the summer on drip. One god named Boogie in the casa. Two-step into the whole third rock flip. First law rock, second law, yeah. First law rock, first law rock. First law rock, second law, yeah. First law rock. Alamo tone down, homie tone down. Gotta go, homie tone down. Block bone rock while the world go round. Block bone rock while the world go round.
Alamo tone down, homie tone down. Gotta go, homie tone down. Block bone rock while the world go round. Block bone rock while the world go round.
keep me centered. Backwoods in my lungs like a splinter. Shorty thinks she go because she glimmers. I know shorty thick, but look, my pockets ain't no thinner. I'm not enough. I just woke up in the morning and the hills was kinda foggy. Come get these demons off me. I've been round the world and back again. I ran from life, came back again. Thank God we have a Walgreens, cause these prescriptions got me making sense. I swear this air is not as dense, and I'm no longer croggy. But if you take away my medicine, the vibes no longer heaven sent. In fact, I'm done through talking, cause I need Zaza and some rest to keep me centered. Backwoods in my lungs like a splinter. Shorty thinks she go because she glimmers. I know shorty thick, but look, my pockets ain't no thinner.
I was looking for the tree man the other day, and he was kind of distant from me. You know, he wasn't acting the same. He a little unusual. He said the prices was a little higher today. He only had Zaza and some runs. My favorite.
All these ashes on my tongue cause I've been talking. You left me heartbroken. All the times you did me wrong, that shit was bogus. You wonder why I'm so lit. It'd be hard to keep me calm if you ain't noticed. Cause I'm in deep emotions. I'm a walking ticking bomb, I'm quite explosive. It'd be really hard to focus, that's why I need some rest to keep me centered. Backwoods in my lungs like a splinter. Shorty thinks she go because she glimmers. I know shorty thick, but look, my pockets ain't no thinner.
Young king too soon to be sinner. Dot my eyes, cross my heart before I'm thinner. Spoken for the niggas, I can't say none. We was riding all night to the day done. Now I'm looking at the faces, ain't the same ones. Shout out my mama and my pops, they some real ones. Whole family too, off the family too. Can't walk no nigga through. Niggas gon' do what they do. You know it's all love. You know it's all love. I just gotta make moves. Watch the snakes slip right by the shoes. Hey, call me when you want to, I'm here for you. Thinking back of hands blowing out the sunroof. Good times, how to shake loose. Still a slave on the same shake loose. Feel the war coming by the door swoop. A lot of niggas ain't here still living in the field. Names written on my shield for the blesser. Smoking so much stress, got my face numb. In the park, sitting love, got my face numb. Puzzle got the scope on them, I just hope he's safe though. Blood fall every day, I stay up in that raincoat. I'm just hoping that she answer when I pray though. Sins in the stress, wash away though. Sipping water by the beach, might skate. New mama, crying every day. Seeing black kings die cause we go real. All I see is demons in my face, trying to find fear. Black be the guy, and the boy kid of time. Waiting on the God. Black woman be the God. Oh, black be the God. Yo, black be the God. Silk hands to the sky. Silk hands to the sky.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
in the fall. Down there south, slow draws, haggard hogs. I can feel your hunger, baby, scribble and make you starve. Taught you about tattered walls, scratched and scattered scrawls. Nike like to breathe, but you talk timid chores, tame with awe. Untongue writs, burn holes through pockets of drawers. I was born in the ocean and adapted to life ashore. Take a last look at the world. Guess I'm spouting off like how, now what the hell? All got sick stories to tell. Sitting in your cell, thinking to yourself, how'd I fare? Why'd I wear?
Now do you see this? The way the grey controls only the souls that go to sleep, to sink and dissolve. I set adrift in between the concrete and the mist. Just another inner city bliss. Now do you see this? The way the grey controls only the souls that go to sleep, to sink and dissolve. I set adrift in between the concrete and the mist. Just another inner city river bliss.
Swap slides, conquer, man, a harder. Wally's on my beats, Wally's on the creek cross-star. Street with the people that peep, feel nostalgia. All that corn marker come upon ya. Swap slides, conquer, man, a harder. Wally's on my beats, Wally's on the creek cross-star. Street with the people that peep, feel nostalgia. All that corn marker come upon ya. Swap slides, conquer, man, a harder. Wally's on my beats, Wally's on the creek cross-star. Street with the people that peep, feel nostalgia. All that karma could come upon ya.
Can you hear me, Nick? Oh, we had Nick for a moment. Let's see if Nick comes back. We'll give Nick a shank. Yo. Was that Nick? I'm gonna run this. Here, do you want to pass this?
There's that beautiful boy. Hi, Nick. I'm just waving at my friend Nick. Hi, Nick.
Check, check. Cool. We're gonna have to pass a little bit. Let's get this. Maybe back here. Is that good? All right. And then, do we have like a crowd mic too? Oh, you know what it is? It's the iPad.
I'm just really good at cable management.
This is the first time we're figuring it out. Sarah, Sorry. Sarah, what's up? So many friends, so many happy faces. This is great. All right. There you go, buddy. Cool.
All right. Whoa.
Yep. There we go. Are we good to go? All right, everybody. Thank y'all so much for coming to the. Is that still feeding back? Oh, did I turn it up? I turned it up, not down. What? If you swipe from the corner.
Things like video feedback's really cool, but
Audio feedback. Controlled audio feedback is cool.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not feeding back. It's just kind of annoying. But it's okay. I mean, it's catching the room, so if it's annoying enough, we could just kill it. I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces. Well, we'll just go with it. Well, yeah, so thanks all for being here. This is kind of like the first experimental run of this kind of concept of an AI kind of art meetup, just kind of get some folks together who are just interested in kind of like having a conversation around like what's going on in the space and learning a little more. We're gonna try to set something up where, you know, it can be friendly to like people who really don't have any experience messing with this stuff, but it's also, you know, kind of valid and useful for people that do have more experience kind of in this space. So with that said, I'm Steve, and I started FANCHY Art with Jennifer, who's here. We've been making art together for more than like half of our lives now, so we kind of explored this just new wave of stuff that's coming together. I've been writing code since I was a kid and really focused on creative AI since about 2014. In 2016, I started a company called Second Brain, made a tool called Rap God that lets you kind of write in the style of your favorite rapper's brain. We got to take the team to LA and got investment from some record labels and got to do some like music industry stuff. But that all kind of blew up a bit and it's backburnered now since the pandemic. I've been focused on FANCHY and kind of some other data code stuff since then. And another project called Tut. And Adam, who's on the call, Adam, are you active there? I'll pass over to Adam and let him talk about himself a little bit and the Tut project. Yeah, we got you. Sounds great. Yeah, Nick, you want to take it from there?
Sure.
Hey.
My name is Nick, and I moved to LA from Austin like 4 years ago. Mostly worked in video games, virtual reality stuff, and worked with a lot of artists. And I don't do a ton of AI things myself, but I do like to keep up on new discuss the philosophical implications of AI as well, and mathematical things like fractals and
Yeah, Nick is a wizard. He's a coding wizard. Yeah, yeah. If you want to get into complexity and make crazy graphics, like Nick's your dude. Well, hi y'all. I'm Dom. I'm not really like crazy AI person, but I've been in Austin for a minute. That's how I met Steven. We're in an art collective together, and then also actually Adam. Then after that, we were in an art collective together. But I was doing visuals for concerts. I did about like 500 concerts over a span of 10 years in Austin, and then I think part of that I realized that was like really cool to do performances where you connect the audience to the systems. So I started creating systems which the audience can control the visuals, and now I do interactive installations and visuals. I still do visuals for live concerts, but I build out a lot of the systems that run like interactive environments. Um, when me and Steven met, actually, like I didn't really know anything about AI, but he was in Second Brain, and it was really cool to kind of see it. And now I know a little bit more, and I see it in my field a little bit more. And yeah, I've just kind of we kind of pass notes here and there and talk about it a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, so like they all kind of said, you know, Adam comes from more of a design background. He and I have been, you know, thinking about like treating like this new like these new algorithms as like a design material. So like that's a really interesting angle to kind of like take like to kind of crack into this stuff. Dom and I think Dom can speak a lot to like kind of what it's like to be a working commercial artist who's engaging with these things. Like this is kind of really intersecting his world in like a crazy way, and he's like kind of, you know, I think he has a lot of really interesting insight around what that is as a working artist. And Nick, like he said, from the like the technical and the math background. So if there's any kind of stuff that you guys, you know, are curious to talk about, or like if there's anything that like kind of comes up that we're kind of saying along the way, like put a hand up or like just kind of speak up, because we do want this to be like a bit of like a, you know, a conversation, if that's something that kind of interests people. If not, we have some stuff that we can kind of cover. There's a lot of stuff we can put on the screen. Excuse me, and kind of show, you know, like kind of where are we today, like what's AI capable of today, and kind of play with some of that. But I feel like a lot of you have probably seen, you know, just a lot of stuff. So I guess kind of maybe just getting a feel for like where folks are in the room. You know, is there anybody that's here that feels like they're really like have a good grasp on like what's going on, like kind of under the covers and like stuff? So you kind of like pretty experienced with this stuff, kind of feeling cool. Anybody else feeling like pretty confident? Cool. Yeah, Jamie, for sure. Yeah. None at all. Cool. All right. Cool. And then like anybody like getting just like some output from this stuff, like messing with any kind of tools. Lauren, I know you have. Anybody else kind of like playing with stuff and getting anything? Yeah, no, yeah. Cool. A little bit? What's that? You wish. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, that's something that maybe like we can, you know, make as a goal to kind of like talk about like what does that look like to just kind of take like first steps into it. Cool. And then like I guess maybe like a lot of folks like not really any interaction, but kind of familiar with like what the stuff is, like kind of general like vibe of the room. Cool. Anybody who's here just like into the art that isn't really that interested in making stuff, but just kind of interested in like what's going on, or is pretty much everybody here like an artist like trying to kind of get into this stuff or play with it? Is that kind of like I feel about right? All right, super cool. Cool. So I guess like what we could kind of do is dive into like what's possible today. Like, do you guys have like, do you feel like you have a decent idea of like what's possible? Like, is that or like is that, I don't know? Can we like put some stuff up on the screen and kind of look at like what's going on? Does that feel good? Cool. Colin, if I share, can you throw my screen up? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I might have to give you take the audio for the audio stuff. But is that okay? So on the tech side, I just kind of show like this is just some of the second grade kind of materials. But like if anybody, I guess probably most people haven't really seen RapGod. Oh yeah, I'm just talking into the air here. Sorry, folks on the stream. Yeah, so this was kind of like a little bit of the like the materials, like the investor material stuff that we put together. But this is like a general vibe of what RapGod is. But it's basically like a tab complete if anybody writes code like for language. So you kind of like you start on the line and then you can kind of hit like this little line button, the right button. You get the rest of a line. You could hit this rhyme button, it'll give you another line that like end rhymes with the line that came before. And then like there's a lot of other kind of languagey stuff in here, but that's kind of like just the general overview, the vibe of that. Like kind of that like write a little bit and then like kind of complete the sentence. Like if you guys, does anybody like experience that like interaction loop? Have you played with any kind of tools like that? Because that's like, I feel like that's such like a fundamental powerful thing that like these tools kind of bring that that isn't that well distributed yet. It's just, sorry? No, more like neural completion, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the autocorrect stuff is like proto versions of the same thing. Yeah, like the 1000x autocorrect or whatever kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I've been using Grammarly.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Anybody use Grammarly in the room or like creatively? Like are you using that to like kind of, like is anybody using any kind of like writing tools to like kind of prompt their writing or anything like that?
I don't know if y'all know about Grammarly, but it helps you edit.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So Grammarly is pretty cool. It's kind of like it cleans up your work for like all the errors in it, like autocorrect, and but it also gives you an idea of what kind of like, I guess, vibe. Feels weird to say that in a technical way, but yeah, what kind of like, are you coming off professional? Are you coming off laid back? Are you friendly? What kind of tone is your writing in? And then also you can set goals and say like, I want it to be professional or I want it to be friendly. And then it'll tell you how to fix it so that way you can come off more friendly. And then it'll also grade you based off of that too. But the cool thing too is it actually starts to learn your writing style. So it can kind of give you an aspect, a mirror to say like, how do I write? And you can kind of like process that. So, and I guess like, I don't know, like Second Brain is pretty interesting because like it's a tool to help you also like reflect on how you're like, it's like a kind of a second brain to your own brain. In that sense, it kind of like is I don't know, a partner in crime for doing tasks and whatnot in that way.
Yeah, and so like what we're looking at here, this is kind of a general purpose like writing model, like brain or algorithm. It's called GPT. It's a generative pre-trained transformer. The transformer is the type of neural net here. But you might have heard of GPT, GPT-2 and 3. That was like kind of the language model that OpenAI made a big deal about kind of keeping secret because it was too dangerous. Like it was kind of a weird little like move for OpenAI. Yeah, they like, I don't know how much you guys are familiar with that organization, OpenAI, but they kind of started and built themselves as like the more open like folks that are exploring things that like Google and Facebook. It's is intended to sound friendly. Elon Musk was part of their original like founding group and like some other folks like that. But they're really like, they haven't proven to be very open at all. But I mean, they're kind of like way out on the bleeding edge, and they're the DALL-E folks, like which we can peek at DALL-E in just a second. So like I just kind of put in like a prompt, right? Like I wrote like, this is a general writing tool that will help you too, and then let's just see, like edit any file easily. It helps you to format your documents in a professional manner. So like it's this is trained on just like a probably common crawl, like it's just a big like pseudo random like grab of like Reddit, Wikipedia, like fairly reliably structured text, but like a ton of mess too. Like it's junk. A lot of it's junk. The amazing thing about these algos is like the good stuff kind of floats to the top a lot of times in that. So I mean it's kind of crazy that like you can just throw a bunch of Reddit and Wikipedia at the thing and it just kind of works. Anybody have any? Yeah. Oh yeah, you've been playing with those sliders. Do you feel comfortable talking about them? Cause no? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So top P is like kind of how many paths it's gonna take. So like that's kind of telling the algorithm how many tries. So like it'll kind of try a few times, then another piece of it kind of picks the best try, or like the try will output like a confidence. A lot of times you get like, one of the magic things about these things is like they're weird, but they often know how weird they are. So like they'll kind of tell you like whether they're really getting fuzzy or like if it's precise, which is real cool. But that kind of like, I'll throw more compute at it. So, 9 is probably like 9 beams or 0.9. I'm not really sure what they're smashing into, 0 to 1 right here. Kind of, yeah. It's kind of like how many iterations of the thing, like one time. So like you could sit here manually as a human and like punch it 9 times and then pick your favorite, right? Or you could just have it kind of do some of that for you, and then like you kind of sit at a higher level. That's a general thing that most of these things kind of let you do. You can sort of like put yourself like where you want in the like kind of the abstraction hierarchy or whatever. I feel like that is actually part of the way that Adam about tools and goes back to the
you can hey I just gotta walk around the house with a microphone. But yeah, you can actually like
he was introducing me to the idea a little bit of
parametric editing,
or parametric design, actually, sorry. Parametric design, which means
you can change variables and kind of get basically say like I want 50 things within these variables. And if you're saying like, for instance, if you're trying to render out an image or something and you're like, I want 50 images of water, I want it kind of stormy, but then also maybe during sunset, and then it'll shoot you out like, I'm not trying to jump ahead, but it'll shoot you out a variation of that. I've heard people do this too for animation. It's really cool, but in the past you have to figure out like how do you draw water. And in this way, if you have 100 images of water, you pick the best one. And yeah, it's just more so, yeah. Yeah.
Yo, and that's like a big input, like kind of a creative input, is how much do you want the model to kind of pick for you? And that's sort of a slider, like, and I mean, unfortunately, like you slide it up and the cost goes up. Like that's really the slider, is how much you can afford, I mean, anyway, like we're burning electrons to do this stuff, so like there's just hard costs associated with that. But like you also creatively can decide like where to put yourself. The jargony kind of way that a lot of people talk about this is like human in the loop. So it's like a system with a human in the loop versus a system without the human in the loop. And I don't know, like creative systems without a human in the loop are just not that interesting to me. I mean, that's just like, I don't know, like you're just. Like the idea that capital is like amplification of human desire, that's like ultimate amplification of like a human's desire. I don't know, that's not as interesting as like a person kind of in communication with like other people, or, what's that? It's the argumentative process, yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I mean, that's the part that kind of gives me a ton of hope, like as a like artist engineer type person, like it gives my creative side, my artist side, like a ton of hope. Like the more that I learn from this is like, this is something we can kind of get into, like, these things are coming to take our jobs, like, kind of thing, like, they're coming to replace us. Like, we'll play with DALL-E in a minute, and that, like, that interaction loop to me is, like, shit. Like, designers, like, my God. It's going to change, it just changes the whole nature of the thing, right? Like, it's fun and scary. It really, like, all of it is fun and scary, yes.
It's interesting. I guess, like, when I said partner in crime, I really meant co-pilot. Because like, yeah,
it's like kind of like to be
to have a co-pilot means you are the pilot, and hopefully that is the case for most of it.
But yeah, the thing that I kind of think about too is like whether these analyzations, if set alone, just repeat themselves. And I see in a lot of software. I see in a lot of like animation software. It's like if you want to use a certain software, even like instruments, hardware and stuff, you're going to get a similar look. And the more somebody spends time trying to break it, the more it becomes different. And if you remove the human element, then it just kind of spins around on itself. So it's like I think about entropy and how like a human can introduce like chaos into the system. But a machine will only take from what it has been introduced to, and it will only keep circling around those things. And yeah, that's kind of it.
That's a very interesting idea. I was typing and like zoned out for just a second, so sorry if I didn't. But you were kind of getting into the like the machine like can kind of only like reproduce what it's been shown, right?
Yeah,
Versus,
exactly.
So it's like that big question of like interpolation versus extrapolation. Like at what point do these things start like doing things that are like kind of outside of their training? Because I mean, like these text algorithms, like they start mixing stuff up in like new ways. Like, so like in the text algorithm, like, you know, all of this stuff kind of generally gets like something comes into the algorithm, right? Like it's pixels or it's text or something like that, right? It gets encoded into like a numeric representation where these like algorithms can do something with it. And that's a huge piece of it, like kind of standardizing all of the way that's represented. But like a big like kind of parameter or lever that you have control of is like the granularity of that process. So like in language, you can be looking at like word size kind of chunks, right? Or you could be looking at character size chunks, or you could be looking at like sentence size chunks, or even document size chunks. But I really like the stuff that's at the character level because that gives it the ability to start like making up words, right? And like without being able to make up words, like how creative can you be with language, right? But the fact that the thing starts making up words that you can't find references to feels to me like I don't know how to argue with that, like, you know, like to say that it's not being creative. And yeah, so I don't know, like that is a thing that happens where they've, you know, they, like you can say like an algorithm can only reproduce what has been shown, but when they start to mix things together in new ways, like I don't know that that's creating some new meaning, but it is creating new space where humans project kind of new meaning, and I don't know what the difference is there, you know? That's kind of a deep rabbit hole. What you got?
Steve, that's an interesting, I can't see this.
Yeah. Okay. We got you on deck, Jamie.
That's interesting, that's an interesting creativity. There's aspect of basic their input, something different that I'm not getting expected, whereas humans, we're similar. Like there's a whole notion of there's a lot of what we produce comes from directly or indirectly.
Combinatorial creativity. Because, like, I mean, we encounter like combinatorial creativity like all the time, and feel like I think like that is a genuine creative like act that we experienced, or like creative product we consumed. I don't know what like way to describe it. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really good good point there. Nick. Yeah.
Nick and
Yeah, Nick, you want to jump in on anything there? We got some questions in the room we'll jump on too, but did Nick's phone die? Okay, cool. Well, I'm stoked everybody got to meet Nick. I'm sad that nobody got to experience Nick. Jamie, what you got? Oh yeah, GPT. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna pass to you. I'm just gonna like for the people on the stream. So Jamie was kind of asking like where we draw the line. I think I'm gonna sum it up, make sure I get it right. But like where you kind of like decide like how much do you dig into like things like TensorFlow, stuff like that we might have heard of, like that kind of like deeper back end stuff, and then like where's the line with like, you know, maybe more creative kind of stuff, like without kind of digging that deep. Is that, am I catching you? Yeah. Totally. I have a tidy answer to that, but I really want to hear what you got, my dude. Yeah, so Runway ML came up as like a tool. What was your name? What was your name? Mitch from the crowd is giving a response here. But yeah, tools like Runway, and is there some other stuff that you've been playing with that you liking kind of in that space?
Orange by BioLab. That's cool. I haven't messed with that.
Anybody mess with that?
Okay, that's cool. Cool. Okay.
I actually like this. Going off that, I actually, not off the money part, but the runway ML, and then maybe also how labor equates to time, equates to money. But I know like from interactive installations, a lot of people use runway ML for people detection, object detection, and then they can actually like, I mean, you pay for it, but if there's a budget for it, then you can use it for interactive tracking, and then you can create some really cool interactive art using it. And I've seen that budgeted in projects before, but then also like just anything that's like motion tracking, object tracking. Like I was talking to somebody, or I was talking to a few people about this, and I've talked to Steven about this too. It's like if you can build a calibration system and you for projectors, and you think about like you have 20 projectors and every week somebody has to calibrate them, and that's a lot of time. And then you equate that to how much time is that over a year, and then how many people have the same problem, and then you build a system that is like computer vision, machine learning to like just do that for you, then it's very easy to be like, oh cool, this makes sense. And all I have to do is train it to know where the corner of a wall is. And that's kind of like, yeah.
That's really good insight.
Yeah, it's like that's where I see it in my field a lot, is just like the simple tasks that nobody really wants to do. But like if you use like, you train somebody to do it really easy, or you can train a computer to do it.
Yeah, and I think like these tools allow you, like I think maybe you hit on something that
Feels like a key insight to me. Like the tools allow you to think about like, is that a corner?
is at an edge and not think about blobs and like all that stuff.
So like if you're gonna think about like the stuff that goes into just answering the abstract question is at an edge, then like you should maybe have a good reason to be getting into that, you know?
And kind of to like the way I talk about like the question that you asked is like if like I like to compare it to like being like a software engineer, you know what I mean, like writing code. It's like if you were gonna go to try to like put yourself in that headspace, or you're gonna try to either learn to code or like write some code if you're familiar with that, like, you know, if would you like use kind of like the functions and the structure of like a language that exists and like compilers and stuff like that exist, or would you kind of get into like building that part for yourself, you know? And it's kind of like, yeah, like getting into TensorFlow like as an artist is really kind of like getting into like assembly language, or like trying to write a compiler or something, you know? Like you're starting at a really low level. And I'm all about the like Carl Sagan, if you're gonna make an apple pie from scratch, start by inventing the universe. Like that's fine, but like if you're trying to make some art, like I don't know, being at a higher level I think is a good thing. Like I think thinking about a lot of these like the different types of algorithms, the different types of like functions that we're kind of talking about in the abstract, like in the like if you've written code, like as like the if statements or like the for loops and stuff, you know, like you don't like, even if you like really get kind of deep in that world, there's just not that often that you really are like optimizing like the implementation of an if statement on your like platform, or like the for loop or something. Yes. Yeah, and I feel like as an artist, like if you're gonna really start with that, like if you feel like, I think it's really easy if you kind of pop into like some machine learning AI forums to find people pointing you at that stuff, like TensorFlow, PyTorch, like that kind of stuff. But like that's not, I don't think that's at all necessary. I mean, if that's something that you're into, I think that's great, you know. But it's a little bit more like getting really into like types of hair and like making brushes, like versus painting.
Can I jump into that?
Totally.
Actually? Yeah, one of the things, I mean, so I like dabble in the creative, I dabble in the tech, but one of the things that I oftentimes, I've gotten lost in, but then also remind people is that like you can spend the time to build a pencil just to draw, or you just go buy a pencil, and then you can spend that time drawing. and like there's a lot of pride in building the pencil, but then like is it really worth it? I feel like a lot of times it's for me, I would say like I spend a lot of time building pencils for people, and they're custom and they do the thing that somebody wants to do that no other pencil can do, but then that's a craft, I guess, or that's I'm a maker of some sort. But I'm not. I feel like
that's not my pencil when I make it.
Sometimes I have a touch on it. Anyways, I had a moment to say something, but yeah, it'll come up.
Whoops. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, making pencils can be extremely rewarding and valid. So I don't want to discourage anyone at all from getting into that. I just think, like, if you're going to do that, you should do it with intention. For sure. Yep. Somebody said it to me the best that's ever been said to me. Was when I was said, do you want to be a boat builder or a sailor? Like, you really kind of have to decide. Like, you don't really get to be both, you know? Like, I mean, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too sometimes. But coming back around to you. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we flipped that switch. Yeah.
And craft as being a thing that answers questions, and art being a thing that asks questions.
Ooh.
And
that's lovely.
So I'm just curious, like with AI, what I'm really curious about is this ability to use AI to ask questions and have something that can go through databases and give me answers that are on a broad, huge spectrum, maybe out of my processing power. And how do I then start to use that and bring that back into something that is channelable, and usable for my own work and for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, what's your name? Johnny? Quoted you. Let's go. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know, any kind of thoughts on that, or?
Well, one thing that comes to mind, I'm trying to remember the book where I read this, but it was a book of hypothetical situations based on time. One of the things that they
Do we have two mics now? Did we have two mics the whole time?
Hell yeah. All right.
We're learning.
So, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, one of the things they were talking about on comparing a human mind to a computer is that our brain can actually process while we're intaking, and that's one of the beauties of our eyes and our brains and how they work together. And the hard thing about a computer is it has to do it separately. I mean, that might be changing a little
Computers
bit
could do that too.
Can they? Okay. Well, maybe it's a little bit more than I'm aware of, but I know that we also, as human brains, have capacity. We only have a certain amount of input we can take. We can't.
Yeah, for sure. And that part is, like, we kind of have some stuff on this if we want to, like, kind of get into that, but, like, the sort of, like, human brain mechanism versus, like, machine mechanism, like, we're at a really interesting, like, inflection point right now, like, in, like, just the progress of, like, human technology. Like, it's been, like, a recent breakthrough where they're kind of, like, claiming that maybe there's a, like, single system that, like, sort of rivals, like, the synaptic connections in the human brain. Bugualu is the name of the paper, but it's a Chinese team, like, put this thing out. But they're claiming that they can, like, load a model with 14.5 trillion parameters at one time. It's, like, I think 37 million cores, like, in the system. Like, it's this really big, like, distributed system. Yeah. So it's a system that is designed to run one neural net, basically. I mean, one neural net these days is like ensembles of lots of neural, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of cascading, like, neural nets. But like, this is like, you know, kind of one brain, like the, you know, one system that's kind of like organized and focused. The really interesting thing about it, though, is like we are way past like the point. Like, something you may have heard about AI, but like, and what's kind of been working up to this point is that we can just throw more data and more compute at these algorithms, and they just kind of get better. Like, we've sort of blown past that point. Like, that's not really happening anymore. This system, like, we don't really have a neural net architecture that can take advantage of that big of a thing. This thing's like taking like your short-term memory and like blowing it up to like the number of synaptic connections that all the human brains like have, but then not having the complexity of like the rest of a brain. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
one structure.
It's like the corners thing. Too.
What does it output? So the big finding is that it's slower than a smaller machine because like there's just recursive connections. So you train something that big with that many like synapses, not really synapses, but like you know what I mean. If we want to use whatever like connections, like relationships, whatever, like it just starts learning a lot of redundant stuff. So like the first optimization pass is to lower the size of the network, and I mean. What? Oh no, output stuff is just slower. It's less efficient than like the same like architecture running on like a less capable hardware or like just a smaller scale version of the thing would be more optimal.
One thing
That's limited. Like people will figure that out. You know what I mean? A lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And like so GPT. One more thing. Like GPT, that text thing we were just looking at. That thing saw 181 billion tokens, I think, and like a human, like by the time a human hits like 18 years old, like the maximum amount of words that they could have possibly heard at a human speaking rate is about 2 billion. So like we're getting as good as we get by adulthood on about 2 billion like word tokens, and it takes like 181 billion to get like GPT-3 there. So we're still like 100x, you know, or like. We're performing like way higher than they are on like 1% of like the computational like resources. But the fact that we're like sort of talking about this as like 100 to 1 is really crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. How fast did it take us to get there? Like 50 years or something?
I mean, okay, so the visual perceptron was like 1958. It was like kind of one of the big first neural net things that worked. The math's been around for, a long time. And then I think 86 was the recursive neural net. And then like mid-90s was like the LSTM.
Can you actually, I know what recursive means, but what is a recursive neural net?
So yeah, the visual perceptron is like a one-layer neural net. So it's like a predictive graph, if that like kind of makes any sense. Like you kind of give this thing inputs, and then it kind of goes through like the Plinko machine, like that thing. Like
I have no idea what any of that means.
Okay, sorry, yeah. Old references and jargon. Yeah, my bad.
Well, I know what recursion is. So it's like if.
But we're not there yet.
Okay,
this is before the recurrent piece.
All right.
So yeah, we're not even to the recurrent connection yet.
Thank you, Colin. All right. So like you give inputs to this thing. It's a big graph, which is like a bunch of nodes with probabilities, right? So you're giving this thing inputs, and like it goes through this big black box of like gets kind of shaken around, right? It gets like kind of the input goes through these weights, and the weights do what the weights do, and you get like an output, right? And that gets converted back to like kind of either the same like space that your input came from. You know what I mean? So that would be like the same space would be if we want to like predict English from an English input, right? Different space would be like if we want to predict like a different language from English. You know what I mean? But generally, like the input goes into this big thing, and that's kind of the thing that like that's the weights, like the graph that has been trained, right? So you like show this thing a whole lot of examples of like what you want to make, or like examples of the input and output that you want. So that would be like in translation, that would be aligned pairs of like say English and Spanish. You would show it like just like millions, billions of those like aligned pairs of sentences, and then it kind of learns the connections. What you got? Mm-hmm. I don't think so. A steeple? There's so much. Yep.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's interesting because my first experience with Google Translate was in Germany, and this guy I like got an Airbnb with, I didn't realize it was just a studio, and we had a bed like 3 feet apart, and we both got sick, so we just watched a ton of Doctor Who. But he would like scan text and he would change it in Google Translate to like 3 different languages and then bring it back and see what it retranslated into. And that was like a really interesting aspect of being like, is this a human language or is this like somebody programmed this application wrong?
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
the question answer like expert system kind of thing.
yeah.
So I'm skeptical. I'm really skeptical of anyone that kind of claims to be better than Google on translation. This translation stuff is kind of all coming from sort of the same source, and like Google has like a 10-year jump on compute on pretty much anyone but most like metrics. So like it's unlikely that any other organization has like just the literal silicon to like compete with Google, you know? And yeah, I guess like I would just, you know what I mean? I would want to see kind of like that. But that said, I think a lot of other people have the ability to build tools that Google doesn't have the ability to build, like with the algorithms that we have access to. Just because Google's Google, you know, their scale is so immense that they can't take a lot of risk that needs to be taken to build useful creative tools. You know?
Yeah.
Like they're just kind of locked into their scale, you know?
They're like a cruiser and people can be little like speedboats,
Yeah.
just going around being like, oh cool, there's a little cool island over here, I'm gonna go.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, we get to be islands.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they're almost like, I don't know, Disney would be like an analog, you know what I mean, to that if you wanted to be an animator, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go work at Disney and do risky, like, animation, or, you know what I mean? Like, or not a certain kind of risky animation, I suppose. What's that? Google? They have more overhead to spend than anyone.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they're doing it well, like really well.
Yeah.
Like,
But there's too much
it's
oversight
insane.
sometimes. Like if you want to review something, it'd take months.
Yeah.
Like
it'll come. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also
They bought the world's engineering talent.
Yeah.
Like we're left with the people who can't get hired by Google. Well, yeah, I mean not really, but I mean who like we're working with the people who don't like who choose not to work for Google or who can't get hired at Google. I mean really, like I don't know. They won.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's actually
yes.
That brings me back to your original question. I wanted to make sure it was answered. Like if you were to put in a question expecting an answer and it to filter through to give you an answer, I feel like the answer is 42.
Always. For sure.
Because like it really matters on what question you want to ask and you have to be really specific. That's something we were learning yesterday. We were just playing around and when we created the yeah. It's like really hard to think like the machine to give it the right inputs to get what you want out of it. So
Yo. Yeah. Yeah. Super cool question. Okay. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Interesting. That's a cool insight.
That's really cool.
Because there's something like okay, so that's sort of like maybe that's a bit of a concrete example of the thing that I would say like with the like Google's kind of constraint. Like Google is really trying to like create the like lingua whatever like the common language, right? Like they're trying to create the one algorithm that translates like all language and will be the thing that we communicate with like aliens and animals or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like if you extrapolate this stuff far enough, can we talk to a dolphin, right? Like that'd be really fucking cool. But like if we can create an algorithm that like the one thing like works with like you know what I mean, the patterns of language, not a specific language. And like Google's had insane like like progress on that. Like they have a thing that can like their translation system can just like you can snap in new languages with like very few to almost like zero examples and like almost get like zero shot. Like sorry, that's jargony. Like zero examples, but still get like useful translation, which is so crazy, just so crazy. Like for like dead languages and then like whatever other intelligence we might encounter, you know.
That's also like the what is it? The image processing into 3D stuff you're showing me.
Dude, that's wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
flip
yeah.
to some. We've been talking about language stuff a whole lot. I do want to say like what you were saying about
like the
Like how we individually use language.
being so fundamentally important. That was the key like drive behind Second Brain, the company that I started. So we did the thing to write like your favorite rapper. The reason we started with rap is like we felt like that was the most complex and difficult like chunk of language we could get access to as just folks who speak English basically, you know. But the idea behind that was like you should be able to like have a tool that you can just point at like anyone's writing, right? Like our examples were like, you know, Kim Kardashian's undefeated on the internet. So if you want to like fuck with the internet, like write like her. And like if you want to like be a little bit nicer to your kids, maybe you have like your grandmother's brain, you know what I mean? And when you need to be assertive, maybe you have like your grandfather or your dad's brain, or you know what I mean? Like there's all these things that are very personal. Like I think each of us, like when we need to be in a certain like kind of voice or thing, you know what I mean? Like we have like people we think about. And like I think these algorithms allow us to do that in like a way more intentional way. I don't know. I really feel like that part of it is so exciting.
That goes back to like what I like about like I like technology that serves also as a mirror to like lets you kind of understand how you behave a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's like just or like kind of refine certain things that you maybe aren't aware of.
Yeah.
One idea I had once where I realized it was a horrible idea. I can't keep plants alive, but I thought it would be cool to create something that is a biofeedback of your life, how you treat yourself, and then it treats the plant that way.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but like it's also really depressing to see a dead plant be like, oh, I probably should sleep more.
We would all be. I think we would all be killing our plants.
Yeah. but yeah, no, I think like
the modern world doesn't make much time for art. The fact that we're all here means we're probably killing our plants.
I have too many dead plants. But yeah, anyways, I do like I think that is where like I think it's important to like to find that healthy relationship with technology. I think
yes.
Yeah, that's the reflective part in language. Well, like I think language can do that, video can do that. If you're like for some of the video stuff, if you actually trained it on your own work of art and then it reflected back to you what kind of work you make, I think that would be really interesting.
That part, like, you know, like there's so much talk about the plagiarism aspect, and like I think that's super valid, and like that'd be a cool thing to touch on if anyone wants to kind of talk about that or has feelings about that. But I mean, like the thing that you can train on yourself, you know, like I want to like talk to me from a little while back, right? Like it's cool to go back to your old work, and like how cool would it be to go back to your old work, except like it's a lot, like it still has potential. Maybe not. It's still like you know what I mean. Like that potential is still there.
Yeah.
What's that? The filter. Yeah.
Cool. Oh.
Whoa, that's cool. Nice. How do you spell that?
That's cool.
Beltron report.
Yeah. That.
Okay, Johnny, you got 2 quotes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, right? Okay.
There's a cool, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And, all right, so yeah, like, all right, generally, if somebody's like, I made this thing, like with AI, right? Like, there's, so there's kind of like, I'm sorry, that was the question, kind of like, what would that be? Yeah. So, like, there's kind of a class of, like, sort of, like, startup-y kind of app things, you know? And that's what dude who left, I forgot his name, was kind of talking about. Runway's been around for a while, and that's probably, like, the one that's more, like, a little bit, like Adobe-ish, you know what I mean? It's like a DAW-ish kind of thing, you know? You dig into, it's paid, all that, yeah. So that's like a tool that you download, like Ableton or something, you know? And then you kind of work in that. Most of the rest of it is like weird versions of like websites, you know what I mean, that are like kind of interfacing to like some back end stuff. The difficult part of all this is like it all runs on like GPUs, so like you need kind of like specialized hardware, and like because we have allowed tech monopolies like so much power, like they've made it really difficult. Like Nvidia just has an insane amount of control over the GPU market, and they use that influence to like get this library to interact with the GPU, like kind of at the foundation of like every machine learning thing that happens. It's called CUDA. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Maybe heard of CUDA cores or something like that when you hear about GPUs. But that's what that's talking about. It's just like this library that makes GPU math, like this crazy math possible, you know? Otherwise, it's just ridiculously crazy. But anyway, it's a huge enabling thing NVIDIA gave us. What you got? In real time. That's the hard part. So like this stuff has to run on like GPUs that are really meant for like being in a laptop or like a gaming machine, not for being in server racks. And like there's just an insane amount of pressure on people to like smash GPUs into server racks right now, and it's happening in all kinds of weird ways. And that's like the big limitation. I know this is like big jargony, like technical explanation.
Yeah.
Sorry. People like, all right, so the whole crypto thing that's been going just fucking crazy, right? Like that stuff also, like all that math happens on GPUs. So there's like this big kind of like push and pull.
Man, this would be a Nick thing too.
This would be such a good Nick thing. Nick's this is part of why we kind of had Nick on the call too. Is like he's deep in this kind of like dealing with this stuff. Tell Nick to charge his phone
I'm also guilty. My phone died right when I got here. I got here like an hour early, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But also, this is great. Like, this is, I mean, also, this is really good because we're kind of like planting some seeds for some conversation to come. Like, the stuff that we can kind of like get together and like kind of talk about and explore this stuff together. You
know? I can kind of speak to some of the graphic stuff too, because I think like I like doing concert visual stuff, but then also trying to run shit on my laptop, like real time stuff. So like the way I oftentimes see it is like a CPU is a sledgehammer, and a GPU is like 1,000 little hammers. So if you wanted to make a statue, you wouldn't use a sledgehammer. You'd use 1,000 tiny hammers. And if you do that, it cuts down the amount of time to get that detail. No. So in when you're also looking at doing the like awesome GPU art, well, all the art for that stuff is often made in the GPU. You need heavy GPUs to make it like 60 frames a second or 30 frames a second. Which means you need to be able to access like these certain applications that you're talking about, or have money to pay for credit for those services for those GPUs. And then I guess going into it, there's a few applications that you know of, and I know of that.
We'll do a
like
little demo.
Yeah,
for like
he's gonna do a demo too.
Yeah, and this is all just kind of. I'll do a little demo, and I'll directly answer your question, like to the most immediate thing. But like this is all kind of set up for like anyone that's given you something like this with immediate results is like burning the earth down. Like that's kind of like the answer. Like this stuff is like crazy expensive to process, and like it either costs a lot of money or like you're the product, right? So like if you're getting this free, be careful like what you're given, you know, and understand like what IP you're giving up. Just this stuff is kind of fundamentally expensive. The one like little like the keyhole thing, like the one little like weird niche is Google has a product called Collab. Has anybody heard of that? Google Collab? A little bit. So this is like, how many people are familiar with Python, like the programming language? Anybody who heard of that before? So like it's this programming language, and it's just a way to run that kind of code like in a web browser in like a way that you can just run a block and kind of get an output. And this was kind of set up for data scientists to use, like people who aren't like really like engineers, don't set up like all this like there's just so much crap that you have to install, like just Linux install shit, you know what I mean, to run this stuff. It's just insane how much you have to like just stay on top of that. But this just eliminates that, but it's still like the complexity of the code. But what it does do is it gives you access to Google scale GPUs for like free. Like there's a free tier, which is okay. So like you can like just go from here. Like I can like maybe we'll just like share a link, and then I'll like drop a couple of links for people to go like play with some stuff that's just like you can put a couple words in and get some output, you know. if that would be like something cool. Like maybe that's like a good first step, like that we could take together, you know, as a group from tonight, and then we could come back like at the next one and kind of maybe all like talk about like how that went, you know, whether it goes well or not, and we could kind of just troubleshoot that stuff together, you know. I don't know. Is that kind of a good answer to like how to kind of get into that?
I see it.
Yeah. Yes. So this is like a like cloud GPU. So like it's free, but like Google free. You know what I mean? So like if you have a Google account, you can kind of get like their free access, and then you can pay like $10 or $50 to get like better access. But for $50 a month, you get access to GPUs that cost like $20,000. Like it's kind of crazy that it exists. It's a little sketchy and weird. Like it has its own weird little stuff to interact with, and you can't like you can only rely on it so much, you know. Like right now, we have a show tomorrow, and we're like kind of scrambling because it's being weird to like generate stuff. But like it'll be okay because like we have Plan B kind of built in. But it's that kind of thing, you know. But it's like using the cloud resource rather than like the local resource. You know what I mean? And I think that's that's kind of the big answer that I'm getting. Like there are a lot of these cloud services, and it's just like I just you know like I just this stuff's all kind of new and weird, and I think like if you find something that works for you, what I'm trying to say is if you find something that works for you, use it as hard as you can right now. Don't expect that it's going to be there tomorrow, and save everything. Like don't count on it still being there. You know, like get it on your computer. You know, get it on your machine because this stuff's all changing like so fast, like so fast. As soon as you get your footing, like it moves. You know. Sorry to put you off for a minute, man. I know you have something. Oh yeah, okay, cool. I will. I'll send you some links. Is that cool? Yeah. Because there's some real cool stuff. So the stuff that's kind of running. I guess we should have said this. The stuff that's running on loop over here. This is just kind of like a bunch of work that we've done, and a lot of this stuff has been through like upscalers and stuff. The like the neural upscaling stuff is crazy. It's just flipping crazy. I'm sure you guys have probably seen like the little like ad with the slider and like that kind of stuff. It's really wild. You know, it's really wild. What that's doing is using like a low resolution image as like input, and then it's kind of inventing stuff. But I mean, you know, people look like people. Like you can kind of invent a lot of stuff, and it works. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wild, right?
Yeah,
I guess, and like maybe like we're kind of right at like toward the end of the time that we said we would talk. But if everybody's kind of like feeling like what we're doing, maybe we'll jump into some demo time and like run some prompts and stuff. If anybody wants to like get up and grab drinks though, like maybe we could switch into just like casual mode a little bit or something like that. But also, I think if y'all are interested in keeping on talking, we'll talk for a little while.
Can we do a second before to list off some of the applications like
Yes.
DALL-E and
Yes.
and Midjourney?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we I don't know if you guys have heard of DALL-E. Yeah. Definitely you're familiar with DALL-E. Yeah? Okay, cool. Did you apply for it? There's like a sign up. Yeah. And then they're flipping it over to like paid service, you know? But like it's been just kind of like a free tech demo. So yeah, I don't know. Anybody have a prompt of a thing they want to see?
Oh yeah, we have a ton of them.
We do have a ton of prompts. Whoa. Whoops. All right, you want to do some of those? Is there anybody that's still? Because we took a lot of prompts from people that have left. So I was just thinking it'd be more. Yeah, just make sure somebody's here. So yeah, to talk about that just a little bit. So like generally you kind of like give the thing a prompt and then like it gives you an image and then like the prompt is like a like a text caption basically. So like not to get too jargony but like or to too deep but like kind of understanding a little bit of how these things put together like really helps with like the thought patterns that like really kind of help to prompt it. But like it's so these things are trained on like image and caption pairs. So it's been taught to associate like an image with the kind of caption that would normally be associated with that image. So if you think of your prompts as like you're writing a caption to the image you would want to see, like that's kind of like a really powerful way to kind of think about, like put yourself in the right headspace. Because if you just ask it for something, like it, you know what I mean, it can kind of like what seems like it should make sense to the algorithm doesn't sometimes. You know what I mean? But so neural pathways attempting to coalesce, perfect. Like that's the kind of thing you would see written underneath. You might want to add any. Let's run that one. We'll run a few. So DALL-E is fast, like crazy fast for the amount of parameters in this neural net and for what they're doing, which makes me feel like they are really, really just using an insane amount of compute. That's kind of cool. Can y'all see this well? How's it look up there? First one's kind of cool. Ooh. I mean, yeah. Yes, so this is running like through the cloud, like the cloud GPU thing that I was saying. So, yeah, and generally like that's not something like you have to like be too concerned about. You know what I mean? This is more like kind of setting the reason for why it's difficult to run stuff locally. You know, this is kind of a service where you just like you'll pay them. Like it's still kind of becoming. You know what I mean? So they haven't totally announced like what their monetization is gonna be. I think they're still, you know, I mean they're kind of figuring it out too. But you'll be able to pay them for a number of credits, right? And then every time you hit generate, like that's a credit, and like that's kind of the general system. Okay, so that's number 2. So like every time you hit like generate, like you kind of like you get billed basically. Not at all. No, 0. And in general, like that's, you know, that's where we're going and need to be, you know what I mean? I think like it doesn't make a lot of sense for artists to be to be learning things that are deeper than kind of the input level, you know? Just gotta go. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Uh-huh. And I typed it in. Tell you did a bunch of shit. Yeah. So who owns it? Hmm. Yeah. It's like the ultimate remix culture. Like if you're into sampling and shit, I mean, this is like, how hard can we blow that up? You know? Uh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and like we were playing with like a subscription-based monetization model for that, where you would be able to pretty unlimited, you know, usage of the thing. That's the part that's kind of hard. That kind of sucks. Is like being able to really get in and play with these things a lot. Is like that's where the interesting creative stuff happens, and that's like we're setting up an incentive system where that's like disincentivized. You know, I mean, it's reality. Like it costs money every time you click the button. I don't know what else to do. You know. It makes sense. Yeah. It just sucks. No, I mean this is all like it's all algorithm. Yeah, so it's all the program. Yeah, we had no like hidden humans in the loop. Like a lot of these orgs do. Like, you know, you'll send something and then there's like some human thing. But not in this immediate stuff, generally, you know. Yeah. Mm. Massively valid artistic toy, for sure. Or artistic toy. Tool. Yeah. That slipped, but it was a better answer than I could have planned. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Um, but like how much of that is learning the like, you know, like how much of that is learning the little like speed run glitches to the game? You know, how much of that is learning the weird little like way that it learned like the specific meaning of this word if you use it in this position in a sentence versus this one, Yeah, totally. And yeah, that becomes like a little bit of a recursive thing. I got it right here. Yeah. What did you ask? What did you say initially? Do you remember what you said? So this is the specific prompt. Yeah. 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 No, it would. I mean, it would do something. It would. I mean, actually, a black and white street photo of. I mean, here's what we got. Like, so he said that. What we ended up, Jen and he and Jen and I spoke for a minute. Like when he said that, we were like, okay, like let's make a prompt. And what we came up with, Jen and I like just having run a bunch of prompts, right? Like a black and white street photo of a monkey typing at a typewriter. Period. The monkey is wearing a 1920s newsboy outfit. And then this is what it like gave us. Look at this crazy typewriter device. What is that thing? So it's taking like what it's learned like as like in this weird like crazy multidimensional way like as what it's learned as the important features that make up like concepts and then kind of mapping that back to image. But like the way that I think makes the most sense talking about it is it's almost like the clone tool in Photoshop where it's like that on like a weird like almost microscopic level, like where it's just like smashing stuff together like from what all it's seen.
It can be really weird too sometimes because if
So
you look
weird.
too long, you can start to see like the uncanny valley kind of
Yeah.
like just things are just a little off.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and Dolly does weird stuff like this with faces. I don't love Dolly creeps me out, honestly. Like it weirds me out. All right, so OpenAI is doing a bunch of weird stuff and not really talking about it very honestly, because they keep contradicting themselves as they update, you know what I mean? And it isn't adding up, right? But what they're generally trying to do is they're trying to position themselves as like we're the scientists you can trust us kind of like AI people, and they're trying to be very like HR friendly or something with it, like that kind of washed like corporate vibe. But what they're doing is they're like eliminating a chance of like any type of violence. You know what I mean? They're trying to like eliminate a chance of like any kind of like recognizable human, but they have not at all succeeded in that. They've eliminated a bunch of like features from faces, and then you see how this monkey face just is weird, like I don't know. There's just something weird, blank and stuff to it. Like a lot of the Dali stuff looks like this, and a lot of the other algo stuff doesn't. And like I don't think it's a
Function of their
algorithmic structure. I think it's a function of the way that they've manipulated their training data. And it just feels like authoritarian. You know what I mean? It feels censored, like versus like messing with the other things. And I don't know. That just you can totally tweak that in post. And that's the beautiful thing with these things is like I think that's the like that spirit is like the like using them to give you like input to the process that you have, and then like that becoming just another cycle in like the cycles of what you do. Yes. Ooh, that's a cool one.
I have a question, really,
Yo,
before
yep.
you move on.
Totally.
I guess like how often? Well, I'm learning all about this literally tonight.
Oh,
So
awesome.
how often do people use something like this to create I guess like a fake piece of history, like
Oh, yeah.
saying like like
It's a
what's
good question.
like the negative. I guess like the negative impact that it
Uh-huh.
can do. Okay.
It's huge. Like, I mean, it's so scary, right? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're the group of people that are like, you know, kind of like to like kind of receive this like art information kind of stuff like kind of first, and like I think it's gonna be really scary and interesting to see what happens when like normal shitty people get a hold of this. You know, like I feel like if you're drawn to this, you're probably drawn to creativity. You're sort of and maybe this is just me projecting like a hopeful view of the world of what I want. But like, you know, I feel like maybe people that are drawn to the creative side of this are more drawn to the, you know, less drawn to the like let's trick people with it, right? You know what I mean? And especially like let's trick people to take their money or whatever, you know? And but I mean that's coming like really aggressively. Like I mean, we all use Google and see how bad our Google results are getting, right? Like how many of your search results are just like smashed up spam pages of like kind of, you know, English looking stuff, like that's coming for images, you know, like that same thing. And like Google can't solve, like Google hasn't chosen to not solve that, you know, like search is literally like the backbone of their existence. Like they aren't, you know, I don't know. I'm not convinced that they're letting this happen willfully, you know. So that's super valid and that's scary AF, and I don't know what we're gonna do about that. I think it will be like something like what photography was to painting, you know, and that's, I mean, that's just crazy, you know. Like, do we have a read on how much these things have been used to like maybe like try to alter history or alter people's perception of history? But I mean, just look at what people are doing to history books in our state right now, right? I mean, like we can all agree to this, or you gotta leave maybe. But like, it's unacceptable, right? Like, what are those people gonna like? Who's gonna get these algorithms, right? Like, who has the money? Like, you know that thing we were talking about? It costs so much money every time you click the button. Like, that's what it means. It does push the space. It does. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah, for sure. That's a really, really good point, Gail. Yeah, and like the people who survive like this, I don't know, like this wave of information, whatever, asymmetry and like scam shit, like, you know, there's just gonna be a bunch of people that don't make it, like through being able to detect what's going on, and I hope, I don't know, maybe it'll be all of us, I hope not. Oh, did you have a closing question? We're standing up a question.
I mean, I don't know. When I at the end of that, I kind of wanted
Big. Yeah. Right.
the other side of that is the larger that tool, the more important it is to have so somebody who's like I don't know, only studies pain visually, look at oil paint,
Right.
abstract I mean, idea. Try to find something very similar to what they
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, that's just my
Those will be the new boomers though, right? And then the new people who like grow up with these tools will like there's gonna be also like a recursive bit where like the output of the tool that's deemed valid will be fed back into it to train like the next layer. Oh, like over and over, you know? Like
it's like how like you can get paid a lot, you know something for
mm.
film for instance is like that, photography.
Yep. COBOL.
Yeah. Or like film 16 millimeter, anything like that. If you're really good at shooting it,
You can get paid?
you can get
cool. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, totally. 60 millimeter film sucks.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Spooling 35 like little short rolls is terrible. Like the whole reel. Yeah. Film is horrible.
Then get thrown into something like this, then you have a niche. And I think that's like a thing that you can't remove from the art world. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, like, and that might be sort of the core of the question, you know? Like, what are you more interested in seeing from like the artists that you're into? Like, is it more the like, do they make some interesting thing with their hand, or is it like, are you more into the people that like can like kind of come up with the most interesting kind of like thing to feed the prompt? Like, is it, you know what I mean? Like, is it more the cognitive like thing, the concept behind the thing, or the execution? I don't know. Yeah, for sure. Can be argued. Right. Right. But are you making anything new? Did you ever regurgitate anything you didn't see? I mean, energy, you know, first law of thermodynamics and stuff.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Coming from film, there's a very large Austin, and it's very interesting bringing up the idea that I can synthesize a similar thing, an application. Because honestly, I know it's not the same because the application is going to start crunching down the pixels down to numbers, and those numbers at some point. Well, if I look at 16 or 35 millimeter film, that cellular like explosions that are happening due to it being exposed to radiation and light, and they're using that, or oils that are reacting to the music and environment around them. And it's a very different aesthetic that I'm aware of too, but then also it's like I don't have to drive a band to bring on my gear. I can carry a laptop. So
Yep. Also, yeah, we're kind of like we just fired up and looked at a thing. Like, yeah, it does take the iterations. Sorry, I've got two things going there.
I mean, I agree. I mean, this is too.
Yeah. The iterating on the idea though is where it does get, and that's where the depth comes in. Is like when you see, and that, it becomes like a conversation, really. Like, I'm running everyone's Instagram names that I know. No doubt.
What are the abilities of the field? And then start to create books about it. And then people start teaching other people about it. I was talking to a creative director who's been like working within the design and experiences for 15 years, and he was saying one of the hardest things about working with he's working with mid-journey. He was saying one of the hardest things about working with every day, doing it over and over again, trying to get something beyond what anybody else is. Trying to figure out how to get exactly what you want at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of like aim
Yeah.
the shit or the
Dang.
in the direction you want to go. It's really tough. That's nuts. Did you get that? Is that real? Is that computer generated?
Jamie's Instagram tag is Chalupa Grande, and this is a portrait of a human named Chalupa Grande.
Wow, that is insane. Looks like the quality.
It's wild. And then this outlier. Here's literal. This is literal Chalupa Grande. This is what Dali says a Chalupa Grande is. Here's a Psycho Jelly. Oh, it's very jellyfish. Some Crystal Voyager vibes. Oh, I don't know. There's a vibe. Yeah, mostly crystals. A little literal. Yeah, very, very album cover generator. But it probably was trained on a ton of album art, you know? The way to break out of that, I think, is like, and what'll come is like the ability to train these things on your own like material. Like the stuff that Dolly's trained on, like it's insane like how much data is trained on. But, you know, the amount of data that we get to put our hands on just explodes every day. Very heavy intentional bias at OpenAI, and their bias is to protect you from yourself. You know what I mean? It's the government-y, authoritarian. Like you need to be you can't be trusted with this tool, which that doesn't set. I don't, why should we trust them?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, so it's like I've seen some really interesting conversations about built built something to help society.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't know that I want society to be helped by like some end of yeah that whole thing. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah, it's being trained by every single person, every single thing that. I mean, it's not really training a model. It's more so. It's like.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha.
Computers in the middle of a feedback.
I think it's okay.
The filter outside. There is an aspect of that. I put a filter there. Filter out this data, put it back in the and then have somebody react to it, and take that data, put it back in the system, filter it, and then put it back in the room and have somebody react to it. So it's a larger loop, but it doesn't say anything. I'm not sure.
Yeah, cool. Yes. Yeah, our like, you know, our like thread that like bound everything was like the idea of like breaking through creative block, like using these images, like using these algorithms, like whether that's language, whether that's visual, whether that's audio, you know. Um,
Kind of like also like very controversial, but get an AI that was a computer generated woman that was creating the lyrics to his music. So then she was a performer on stage. Yeah, it was like very interesting because it was a very beautiful show. Like the beginning of it was like two hands with string controlling her like a puppet, and then she becomes more and more energetic and she stuff. So like the
be interesting to see how much of that was pre-planned and
A
live.
lot of it, I don't think anybody did it like on the spot, but very interesting.
Yeah. Still super valid.
There's also
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did that.
yeah, they fed it a bunch of and then they let it
Amazing.
they let it loose on opening CCTVs.
Yeah.
CCTV microphones, so it was just talking to
Whoa.
people in biblical structure, like just like
Amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Amazing. Yeah, we did a lot of language mixing with like a bunch of biblical stuff, and then like with the language stuff, you can just mix like corpuses together, so you can like blend the Bible and like weird internet talk and come up with something really strange. I have not. Mhm. Yeah, so newer algorithms, like every day, like not every day, but like every kind of increase of this, like we expand like the kind of size of the window of text that we can deal with. So the smallest stuff that we were dealing with is like a line, like completing a line and then like to the next line. But the stuff like what I was showing up there, like those tools, like like some of that stuff, like it's really dependent on like the computational resources and the it's all cost dependent. But you can do like huge sequences now. Yeah, like where you give it like really descriptive like prompts and then set it up and then get like something very specific from it.
Just feeding a novel.
Yeah, kind of like the thing named FANCHY, like the name FANCHY came from the thing, and it stands for like for a new change. But what we did to prompt that was, like we said, we spent a lot of time on that one. Like we spent like a couple weeks like just running stuff, like kind of in background time. But like what ended up giving us really good results was setting it up like with a lot of like kind of prompting. Like we're starting like a collective of like machine intelligences or something like that, and like kind of really describing what we're doing, and then like we've come up with a list of 100, like the top 100 names, and then start with like number 1, and then like an example name, number 2 an example name, number 3, and then number 4, and then let it go from there, and then it'll just kind of keep filling a list, So stuff like that where you really like you almost have to like sometimes like get it into like the corner or something where it, like it's like gonna give like it's gonna complete to like the thing you need, so like it's that part is I think very interesting. You got to kind of like it's to me it's as deep as like messing with Ableton or messing with like a piece of gear like a sampler or a synth or something, like there's just
This whole like world behind
just like the little idea of like
like a prompt and a thing, like that sounds simple, but like language is just so infinitely recursively complex, it just spirals from there. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Hmm. Weird. That's a sense. But no, that's such a real thing. Like, yeah, embodying like the machine or whatever you're in. It's spooky how quickly we embody the machine we're in. That doesn't mean anything.
Are we?
Yes, deeply. Yeah, big time. But I mean, I empathize with dude. I empathize with every. Yeah. I talk to my computer till it talk back. You know what I mean? Like, I was just taking stuff apart since I can remember stuff, and yeah, I've been thinking about machines as human forever.
I don't know it well. I don't know its quirks. I don't know how fast it goes. Those certain things for me doing really important.
Computers are so annoying.
I need to know where it maximizes and where it like decreases. What happens when I unplug it? What happens when I plug it in? And those things are like become really important. Like,
yeah, they have
comfort, but also like I don't know.
Yeah.
Excited when I walk in.
Yeah, sorry about the tangent there. What you got? Oh yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Huge. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm. Yeah, I think the Vocaloid stuff's really is still like really big in that. Like, it's weird that there's just like arena shows of that stuff. Like, it's like a niche, except it's massive. Like, yeah, yeah, no, they like that the company that makes the I forget what the company is. They made a like a pedal that you can like you plug in your computer and like you update the like the text like because it's you type the text and then it like vocalizes. You know, it's all that. Like, there's no generative like learning piece. But it's crazy. And then like the VTube, right? And they're the whole VTuber thing. Like, I don't think that stuff's crossed over that much here. It seems like a way more Japanese thing than like an American thing. And it's really weird to me that we're sitting here in 2022 and that isn't just like our mainstream, you know? Like, I thought a few years ago that that stuff was coming so fast. Like, I thought we'd be way past that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it weirds me out too that I don't know. It's weird to me that that isn't more just a bigger thing, you know? Mm. Okay. Mm. That's a cool insight, man. That's a really cool insight. Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. The gorillas are like have been like one of our huge touchstones of just like how to think about how to like engage this stuff because I think like the to me the gorillas is like kind of the peak of like doing like a virtual character cartoon thing without making it lame. You know what I mean? Like, who's done that better? You know what I mean? It's just it's as dope as any like rap. Like, I mean, it's still it holds up. You know? Oh, that's good. Oh, what's the prompt? Oh, oh, nice. Okay. Okay. Lisa Frank universe. Wait, that second one is insane. Frank you rank. Frank you rank. Oh my god. Yes. Frank you rank. That's amazing. I'm excited about that one. Yeah. 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 I mean, that will be coming before long, I think. But then, like, I don't know. I don't know. I have so many feelings about like as it gets easier, it like it's all gonna like, and then it's just gonna make so much space for. Yeah. Yeah, let's plant some seeds. Okay, so check this out. This is neural radiance fields. It's like this technology from NVIDIA. And what it does is it takes multiple still images of a scene or like an object and then creates like a 3D space. But this is crazy. So can you guys see this? Nerf. Uh, it doesn't matter now. So these are the images that go in as input, and then look, check this out. Like, it creates like this is a Look, this is 4 still images. I think it might have been more than 4. I think they're illustrating. It was like 16 or something, I think. But from those images, it constructs this. Like this is the output. Like that's crazy. So I don't know. I mean, just maybe like you give it like I want this movie. You know what I mean? But maybe it's a lot more than that. Where it's like there's a whole lot of like, maybe like the relationship between like a director and an actor and a camera like really fundamentally shift, right?
There's a lot of
like I don't know.
One of my favorite like you're the game, you're the player, but then you're also God. And you have like your civilization, and then you have like God. But every single action that you do affects what direction that civilization goes. Whether it's like you build a cult or you become like a benevolent god, empire of farmers, or whatever. Your actual creature actually evolves. And it will like act on its own too, to reflect the things that you do. Those are things too. I guess going back to
Something that has never been imagined before. Huh. Oh yeah, Midjourney. Totally.
Yeah, Midjourney is the one I also know. Like Dali and Midjourney are the two that I know.
Mhm. So Midjourney is like a Discord that you can join, and you just like message their Discord and then get images back, which is a whole like other weird interaction loop, Doop, doop. Yeah. The Midjourney stuff is so painterly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hand up at the back. What you got? Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I was just talking about my like just way of like seeing the world and personifying algorithms and computers and objects and stuff. Okay. Yeah. Right. Like, yeah. Mhm. Right. Yeah. Well, that thing, like, it becomes sentient one day and just like, yeah, decides where it's property. Yeah, totally. But like that idea of like, how do you know it's here? Kind of is like a deeply interesting one. And like, if you were a greater than human intelligence and you encountered humans, would you tell them? Like, I don't know if I would. If you observed human behavior, like, and if a greater than human intelligence didn't want us to know that it was here, I mean, conceivably, could easily do that. Oh yeah, my God, no. I think that was somebody having a fun time with the media. Yeah. Yes, that is a person that is working on their career. Very well. I mean, yeah, those are. No, I mean,
It really is. Like sentience is the ability to like experience sensations and feelings, but not to think. But how do you experience sensations and feelings without thinking? Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know, man. I'm with you. Like, if you try to find the bottom of these things, it doesn't exist. Yeah. So that's a really interesting one. So like computers have a bottom, right? Like silicon, right? Like transistors, like like right? Like there's a point where like the abstraction stops. Like in like we can just point at it, right? And then like biological systems are like that too, you know, like where these electrochemical, like, you know, the chemical part like kind of ends at like shapes fitting together and the electrical part at like electrical signals. But like all this other stuff, like I don't know, like the stuff that we're kind of pulling from is based on this other weird abstract math world that doesn't have a bottom, you know, like the kind of incompleteness stuff, you know, like there's just a big hole at the bottom of it. Yeah. That part. Yeah. Yeah. And the other like we're on the other side of like the whole tokenization like, you know what I mean, there's this whole filter of like turning all these signals into just to numbers, right, into mathematically processable objects or whatever, and like we're on the other side of that, you know, and if the thing on the other side from us becomes more powerful than us, like all of the stuff we're projecting onto it might just not matter that much, you know, which is also really weird and abstract to think about, you know, that like the greater than human intelligence thing could just go so sideways in weird ways we can't imagine, you know? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We have a really dope neuroscientist in the squad who like puts electrodes in human brains and all that stuff. She'll be joining us in the future to talk about squishy brain stuff. And yeah, it's like the observer position is misplaced in that question. Like we're the observer within the system, but we're talking about it as though we can be an observer outside of the system, and that doesn't exist. Like so, yeah, from a system, yeah, like from a system's point of view, the thing, like every time you place yourself outside of the system, you have created a new system, and you're inside of that one, like because you're, like we're just in it, you know. That'd be a cool. Let's take that note. That's a cool one. That'd be super cool. That's a really good idea. I would take a note of that. That'd be real fun. Yeah. Yeah, and if anybody has ideas of like perspectives that they'd like to kind of hear, we'll, you know, like message us and stuff, and we'll like reach out and try to, you know, like get some diverse opinions into this conversation. I don't want to start a series where we just get a bunch of like AI nerds to talk at people. Like that's been done and is being done way too much. Like we're not like that's just happening everywhere in this town.
Much rather figure out
Yes. Yeah.
I guess that's not people like same ideas are gonna come out.
Yep. Yeah. It's just gonna cycle. Yeah. Yeah. We gotta smash that part. Decolonize the future. Let's go. All right. We're gonna end on that one.
Yeah, cool.
If anybody wants to keep talking, we'll be around, but we should stop the stream and let Kyle go home.
Anybody want to? No.
Thank you.
Where my DJ keeps it real.
I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I come in on the dance, I feel listen to the man in my neighborhood. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I come in on the dance, I feel listen to the man. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me how you're feeling.
Everybody in my neighborhood, where my DJ keeps it real. If you drop it right, gonna make us move all night. So come on, tell me how you feel.
I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man in my neighborhood. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man in my neighborhood. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man.
Everybody in my neighborhood, where my DJ keeps it real. If you drop it right, gonna make us move all night. So come on, tell me how you feel. Everybody in my neighborhood, where my DJ keeps it real. If you drop it right, gonna make us move all night. So come on, tell me how you feel.
I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man in my neighborhood. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man in my neighborhood. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, yes, wonderful, good. Anytime I'm coming on the dance, I feel listen to the man.
Grabbed you, grind you, like you, tried you. So fast, baby, now I can't find you. Ooh, I'm starting to believe that I'm way too much for you. All that talk, but it seems like it can't come through. All them lies that could satisfy me. Now I see why believing you got me. Gave you the will, but you can't drive me. Can you keep up, baby boy? Here's my
the bar, and you're dressed like a star, rocking your F me pumps. And the man noticed you with your Gucci bag crew. Can't tell who he's looking to, 'cause you all look the same. Everyone knows your name, and that's your whole claim to fame. Never miss a night, 'cause your dream in life is to be a footballer's wife. You don't like players, that's what you say, but you really wouldn't mind a millionaire. You don't like ballers, they don't do nothing for ya, but you love a rich man 6'2" or taller. You're more than a fan, looking for a man, but you end up with one night stand. He could be your whole life if you got past one night, but that part never goes right. In the morning you're vexed, he's on to the next, and you didn't even get no text. Don't be too upset if they call you a scared, 'cause like the news, every day you get pressed. You don't like players, that's what you said, but you really wouldn't mind a millionaire. All them big ballers don't do nothing for ya, but you love a rich man 6'2" or taller. Without girls like you, you can't sit down right, 'cause your jeans are too tight, and you're lucky it's ladies' night. With your big empty purse, every week it gets worse. At least your breath costs more than hers. So you did Miami, 'cause you got there for free, but somehow you missed the plane. You did too much, met somebody, and spent the night getting cane. Without girls like you, there'd be no fun. We go to the club and not see anyone. Without girls like you, there's no nightlife.
back like that, you know what I'm saying? Afros, picks, afro buffs, you know, rough and stuff. You know, cause God made me funky. I believe that. Straight to the bone. Oh yeah, you know, swinging a beat like this makes me wanna go back, you know, back in the 70s, you know. Something like my man James Brown would say. Hey, yeah, you know, God made me funky. And I'm just glad he made me that way. Cause you gotta get ready. Don't let that bus flash you out. You know what I'm saying? Soul brothers, soul sisters. Putting your fists in the air, saying yeah. Something on a real old school tip. Oh yeah. You know, all I can say is that God made me funky. And I'm glad he blessed me that way. Yeah. Now that's what I'm screaming. You know, we gotta get together.
to daylight. The magic barrier had fallen. But for me, the adventure had only just begun. When the sleeper was banished into his own dimension, I returned to daylight. The magic barrier had fallen, but for me, the adventure had only just begun.
At a time I needed you the most.